O Lord, you are unborn, absolute and formless. You are beyond bliss and again bliss itself, the one and the infinite.
बोलो श्री गजानन स्वामी की जय। पंडित तरुण जी, श्रोताजनों, भक्तजनों, सीताराम और शुभ स्वागत। Devotees, the puja is completed and now we engage in discourse for a short while. So let us sit straight, keeping the back straight, being totally relaxed, and let us focus inwardly, focusing on the breath. If any thoughts come to the mind, just ignore them. This way we still the mind. And by doing that, we can focus fully on the Divine Lord. Now let us inhale and exhale slowly. In and out. In and out. And now let us chant the praises of the Divine Lord in His various manifestations through mantra. Starting with Shri Ganesh ji. Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Surya Koti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kurume Deva Sarvakajishu Sarvadam Ramaya Ramabhadraya Ramachandraya Vedase Raghunathaya Nathaya Sitaya Pataye Namah. Om Vasudevam Sutam Devam Kansachanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Bande Jagadguru. Om Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwara Gurur Sakshat Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurudev Namah. And now let us focus on Shri Ganesh ji for a short while. Om Tvameva Pratyaksham Tattvamasi Tvameva Kevalam Kartasi Tvameva Kevalam Dhartasi Tvameva Kevalam Hartasi Tvameva Sarvam Khalvidam Brahmasi Tvam Sakshat Atmasi Nityam. Om Shri Ganeshaya Namah. Bol Shri Gajanan Swami ki jai. And let us focus on Shri Ganesh ji as we sing his praises. He is Shubhanana. He brings auspicious in our lives. Gajanana he Subhanana, Gajanana he Subhanana. गजानना हे सुभानना गौरी मनोहर प्रियनंदना गौरी मनोहर प्रियनंदना पशुपति गजानना पशुपति तनय गजानना परम सुमंगल शुभांगना गजानना हे शुभांगना गौरी मनोहर प्रियनंदना गौरी मनोहर प्रियनंदना बोले सो गजानन स्वामी की जय. Now, devotees, for the Katha tonight, this discourse, we look at 3 simple incidents and then draw some lessons from them. Now, these are the Kathas that I'm sure you know already and you would have heard many times. But we'll revisit them and see how we can extract some lessons for everyday living in them. So, the first one, which you have heard, is how Parvati Mata created Sri Ganesh Ji, using the dirt from her hand to make this baby Ganesh, using the pran pratishtha, or blowing, pran means life, blowing life into Ganesh Ji to bring him alive, to guard her residence. And for that particular instance, when she was having a bath. So I don't want to go to the Katha itself, we all know that. So what we want to do is to look at this incident and see what we can draw from it. Now, to illustrate that point, I want to give another short story or itihas to really bring forward the point, to reinforce it. Now, there was once this guru was teaching some students about Hinduism and life and dharma, etc. So he was giving to them what is called an itihas. Now, itihas is a Hindi word that means history, or some incident, occurrence. So he said to them that there was this young man who started the question, is there a God? What is the purpose of life? You know how many of us, when we go through life, we start to question, why are things the way they are? And it is good to question, Sometimes we discourage people from questioning, but we never should. Never should. Whenever they say why, explain why. And if they ask you why, many times, don't ask them why they're asking why. Answer why you think it is. But anyway, so he was saying that this young man was going around and he started to get a full, of himself. Thought he was too smart. And he went and saw a field of pumpkins. So he looked at it, he says, look at this. Pumpkins are so big and huge, the vines are so small and thin. Does that make sense? Why should a big, huge, vegetable be in a small, thin vine? Says maybe nature doesn't know what's happening, or maybe God isn't sure what he's doing. So he continued that way, and he came to a mango tree. He lay down under the mango tree and looked up. Now, mango trees can be very huge, very, very tall. And I don't know how many of you would have, in your youth, would have gone to the neighbor's mango tree to pelt, as we say, to pelt the mango down to get some mangoes. Very tall trees, sometimes it's very difficult. So he's there under this tree, and a mango fell next to him. He jumped up and said, oh my gosh, if this mango had hit me, what would happen to me? So he just asked himself that question. Now this teacher paused at this point and said to the students, he asked the first one, what do you think you can learn from this, itihas? The young man said, I feel somebody put a light on the young man. So he wanted mango fall hit him in the head. but it worked out right. So he was a believer in superstition. Somebody put a light on him, so the mango fall hit him in the head. The other one was a real devotee. He said, well, that's God's will. That's God's will. Everything that happened is God's will. Now, I'm not saying it's not God's will. Our devotees, and this is the true incident. It's about 31 years ago, my first trip to India. I went to an ashram, and I call it names, whatever, right? Not Divya ashram, it wasn't existing 31 years, as said. An ashram in India. So this fella asked me, so where are you from? He said, I'm from Trinidad. And then he started to speak of the greatness of his guru. He knew everything. So we talked for a while. And then the fella said, so when are you going back? I said, your guru must know that also. He knew everything. He will tell you. Ask him when I'm going back. Now, I don't mean to be facetious or be, but something, we must have faith in God, but we must not be ridiculous also. You can say, hey, I have faith in God and walk in front of the bus. Does that make sense to you? Doesn't make sense. Right? We have to have faith in God, but don't be, ridiculous also. We have to follow the rules of life. And I'll bring this point very clearly now. In that, you remember Hiranyakasipu? He wanted to live forever. He prayed for that. I want to have eternal life. But he was told, like many before him, the Rakshasas who prayed for eternal life, you're here on this earth and you have to conform to the laws. You must die. Human beings die. So the point I am making is this. Yes, we have to have faith in God, but also God himself follows the rules of the universe. Isn't that so? The rules of the universe are part of God, so he follows the rules of the universe. So the first student says, he was, somebody put a light, they walk over behind him. Second one, well, it's the will of God, whatever happens, happens. So he turned to the third student, now who is a bit more reflective. He says, what did you learn from that incident of this mango falling from the tree to the ground? So this fellow says, well, that things on a height, because of gravity, it falls. You remember the famous incident where this famous scientist, Isaac Newton, saw an apple falling from the tree, and he asked himself, why did the apple fall? So he looked for a deeper meaning, a deeper understanding. And then he came up with the idea that gravity, everything that is, up in the air will fall because the earth pulls things down. So that is the deeper meaning. So there are three things here. One, we can ascribe everything to superstition. Somebody walk over here, this happened, that happened. That's one. We can go to the other side, and which is not bad. Say, divine Lord is in charge of everything, and he is indeed, but he also follows the rules of the world. And in fact, there's a famous saying by the Dalai Lama, who's the head of the Buddhist world. He says, believe in God, but still lock your car. So you think if you believe in, you're going to say, I believe in God, I'll leave my car open just so. The problem is you might believe in God, but the crook who passes, I believe in God, so he could thief your car. So you have to be aware of the real world. This is how you have to be realistic. But the third one, what we must do is be more reflective. What can we learn? And something they call, what can we take something of that principle and transfer it to other parts, the other areas of our life in problem solving. So the issue of this Parvati Mata creating Lord Ganesh from the dirt of her skin, we can take it literally and say, yeah, well, that is why we make Ganesh Murti with dirt only. But then when you see you making bigger and bigger and Ganesh, 120 foot tall, and then we can't move it. We have to get a crane to put it in the sea. Now, does that make sense, what I'm saying? Now, so if somebody says, hey, can I make Ganeshji with paper? Can I make it with, take flour? We make kite with flour a long time. Can I do the different material I worship? Is it different? Can we change? What I'm saying, do we say literally, Parvati Mata made Ganeshji with dirt, and therefore we have to make him with dirt. But then don't we not have Ganeshji made of concrete? and marble, and also metal, brass. Isn't that so? So what we're saying, what is important then, is that we learn something, we take a lesson out of it that transcends narrow information boundaries. In other words, we learn something we can take forward. So what I would like to put to you here is that the Murti itself is important, the worship is important, but why the Ganesh Utsav was started? For a larger purpose, to get people together, to get Hindus together. For them, we are notorious for that. Eh? Hindus are very individualistic. Every man for himself, every woman for herself, every child for himself. We don't seem to get the idea that together we form a larger, stronger body. And when it started over 100 years ago, that was the purpose. To give Hindus a sense of community. Community means you get together, a sense of community, a sense of togetherness, a sense of brotherhood. And it gives you confidence. And I want to give you a simple proof. Before Swaha started Sri Ganesh Utsav and Ganesh Utsav maybe went to Shagaramas, do you think any Hindu would have dared to take a murti and parade through Port of Spain? Do you think so? But now we're going in the western, peninsula. People should think that Hinduism could practice in south of the Caroni, maybe a little bit north of it, but west of the country. That's not part of the Hindu, Hindu's presence. But now it is well established. And this, what caused it? Not the Ganesh Utsav? So this is what I'm saying. So it worked this way. So this is what we have to understand. This is what we have to understand. That the larger principle, yes, we must have faith, we must have belief, but the larger principle of unity, of togetherness, it makes us stronger, gives us stronger presence wherever we are. That is important. So devotees, that is the first sort of point I wanted to make on that. So quickly then we say that we have to extract lessons for everything in life. We have to extract what we call meta principles to apply them in life to make ourselves better, to make our community better. Devotees, again, now let us, before we go on to the next point, let us engage in Kirtan for a short while again. Jai 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 Gananayaka, Jai Jai Vighna Vinashaka. Bolis Gajanan Swami ki jai. Now, the next incident we want to look at, the Katha of Sri Ganesh ji, and then again draw some lessons for life and everyday living. Now, we all know the beheading. Bhagwan Shankar, when he came home and he saw Sri Ganesh ji, and he refused him access to the house, the cave, whatever term you want to use, a battle ensued, and Ganesh ji was beheaded. Parvati Mata came outside and saw that and said very clearly to Bhagwan Shankar, "That is my son. You made him lose his head, you get back a head for him, bring him back alive." So she was very firm on that. So Bhagwan Shankar, sometimes, you know, when the spouse is very angry and they say, "I want this done," you have to get it done. That's not so. So devotees, Bhagwan Shankar sent his Ganesh disciple, says, "I want you to go out in the world there. And any mother you see who is sleeping with her back to her baby, or turn her back to the baby, bring that head for me." So it so happened it was elephant. And Sri Ganesh ji got the elephant head. That's why we seem to do with a human body and an elephant head. Now there are one or two points we want to talk about here of relevance to our lives. Now, as I begin, I want to point out to you that some of the most radical and forward-thinking ideas would have come from the Hindu scriptures. But for some reason, Hindus have become very conservative. We don't think outside the box. You know, we have become, you know, status quo, doing the same thing over and over without analyzing and seeing, you know, issues. But this point will illustrate that Hinduism has always found solutions to problems that seem to be intractable, that could not be solved, but they got good solutions. So we start with a simple point. Everything, before you can build a nice house, and you have to come and think in your mind you want a house, when you go to the architect or the plan drawer, whatever term you want to use, you tell them, "Build a house." They ask you, "What you want? How many rooms?" "I don't know, build anything." No, you know how many rooms, you know how many posts, you know how it looks, you know the size. So you have a picture in your mind. So if we have a picture in our minds, then we can put it in paper and then we can make it, you know, in reality. So what we're saying, ideas are extremely important. And here, firstly, when Parvati Mata created the baby from the dirt of her hand. Now that's not the usual way to produce babies, isn't that so? That's not the usual way. But she did it. Now, the Hindi word to be born, or to be produced, or to be made is paida hona. So it doesn't mean to be born, really, it means to be made, to be produced. And why, you know what I'm saying, she faced a situation, she looked at the innovative way. And that's a problem she had. She did not stay back to think, "Hey, what will neighbor think of me? What will society think of me?" She did what she had to do. Once it conforms to dharma and positive. And to reinforce that point, devotees, Tulsidas ji, you recall that the Ramayana was written in Sanskrit, at least in North India. And Sanskrit is called Devani, the language of the gods. But the human beings could not understand the language of the gods. So if I came here today and gave this discourse in Spanish, would any of you understand? Would it make sense? Would it have any value? So what is he saying? He's speaking Greek or what? So devotees, you have to understand. And Tulsidas ji understood that people were not understanding the scriptures in Sanskrit. And therefore, he wrote the Ramayana in Awadhi. The Arth or the meaner translation is in Hindi or English now. That's how it is. And this is why the Pandits in Trinidad, when they came here, Pandits would sit down, the older Pandits, and they're very educated and learned, and they would say the kathas in Hindi, and the young people would slip away. What is he saying? I don't have no idea what he's saying. They didn't learn anything. So the Pandits had to follow the example of Tulsidas ji and give the explanations in English. Isn't that so? It made sense. This is how we go forward. So this is how life is, you know. And devotees on that point, many people say, and some so-called, we say so-called, intellectuals and historians say the pundits in this country were illiterate. Let me give us an example this way. So when I teach engineering, when I was at UB, we had students from all over the Caribbean. Even now, when you tell them, everybody doesn't know the culture. So for instance, I use the word gobar, and people want to know, what's that? So I said, well, you have to be culturally illiterate. If you live in a society which is part of the culture, then are you illiterate also? So why do we think only if you know English you're literate? That doesn't make sense. So you could be illiterate in Hindi, but literate in English. You could be literate in Carnival, but illiterate in Ganesh Utsav celebrations. Or as we saw recently, you could be literate in Trinidad things, but you could be illiterate of the Mahabharata. Then somebody say, I never know this thing was the Mahabharata. I didn't read it. I didn't know. So what is literacy? So literacy is in a specific field. So unless you're God, you can't be illiterate in all, literate in all fields. And therefore, nobody should call anybody else illiterate when they themselves suffer from illiteracy in a variety of fields. Isn't that so? So we have to understand these sort of things. So what we are saying here then, we have to move forward and understand that Hinduism has all these sort of values. It looks at all these things in the proper way, and we have to learn from it. Let us not be only sort of specific and say, this is the story. Yes, the story is important, but it doesn't mean that anything else is not important. So we should not, so Parvati Mata displayed that characteristic. Yes, this is the way, but I needed a baby, and this is what I'm doing. It conforms to dharma. There's nothing adharmic about it. It was done. If you want to use science, and they didn't talk about stem cell day and cloning then, but you can do that now. With stem cell and cloning, from one person you can create like that. So the concept was there. That is science. We have to be careful. I know Hindus like to say, we did everything, we didn't, we have to be aware. You have concepts, but you probably didn't get the science behind it. So, beheading is the same thing. Devotees, Bhagwan Shankar put back, caused the head to go onto Ganeshji and him to come back alive. Again, the concept, what we're saying. So the first one we'll talk about. Now, if you don't have the concept, as I said before, you don't conceive, then how can you achieve? Now, before they did the first heart transplant in South Africa, it was done in South Africa, complete heart transplant. People say, you have to be mad. Can you take somebody's heart out of the chest and put it, and take out the next one and put it in and join it up and it will work well? That's impossible, impossible. Do you think if you told somebody that in 1901, they'll say, you're mad. But now it's routine. Heart transplant is routine. They have transplanted hands. People get a hand chop out, they transplant back their hand, join it back and they're fine. Recently they did a face transplant. Think how difficult it is to do a face transplant. To connect all the nerves to make it look and these sort of things. Very, very difficult. I don't know when they're going to do a head transplant. We can't say when. But what I'm saying, the idea of taking another part of another body and place it in a different body, the concept was explained in this Katha with Sri Ganeshji, and which is happening now. So that's one thing that we should be aware of and we should be proud of. The other thing is this, that Bhagwan Shankar says, anybody, mother who turned her back to her child. Now when you have a friend and you turn your back towards you, what that tells you? When somebody says, I turn my back on you, they forget you, they don't care about you again, isn't that so? So Bhagwan Shankar has given a very clear message here, that mothers at all instants in time should care about your children. You cannot, like I said, metaphorically turn your back on your children. I don't know how many of you here would have seen the movie Lion or read the book Lion. You should see it. It's about a boy in India who got lost because his mother had to work, his brother had to see him, and he turned his back for 1 second at him and he got lost. Ended up in Australia. It took him 25 years to come back to find his mother. This is interesting, let him say these sort of things. So if you take it literally, turning your back on the child. It's not good. And that's an example of it. As a true story, Lion. The fellow who acted in Slumdog Millionaire, he acted in, very good acting, very good story, see it. So, the book also is really good to read. It's based on a true story. The brother, well, who was acting on behalf of him, but turned his back on his brother for a short while, and the consequences that followed. So Bhagavan Shankar is saying that. But let's take it in a wider sense. That what is the role of a mother? A mother is to nurture, isn't that so? Father to nurture also, but it's a nurturing role. Who nurtures dharma? To nurture means to feed, to clothe, to protect, to keep alive. Who keeps dharma alive? Who should nurture dharma? Us. So Bhagavan Shankar is very clear again to us that when we don't nurture, we turn our back on dharma. What is dharma? Then what happens is that negative consequences follow. Bad things happen. So the lesson again, so the larger lesson, like I said, the meta lesson, if you want to take out of it, that every one of us, we have this responsibility not to turn our back on dharma, to nurture dharma. And when we don't do that, then dharma loses head. We lost. That's what happens. We finished. Devotees, to end that point, the World Hindu Conference concluded, I think last week. And again, they, like a stuck record. Time for Hindu unity. How long we hear that now? Why does it not happen? The Ganesh Utsav was meant for that too. So devotees, but as we say, you can't give up. We have to keep on working. That which is worth something, we have to spend time on it. And maybe Hindu unity is an elusive goal. It's like infinity, you can't reach, but we have to keep on trying. We might get nearer, but we have to keep on. So devotees, so these two issues, these two kathas are about, firstly, about, creating Ganeshji from the dirt, and secondly, beheading and putting mark the head. It's important. And I want to end this by asking you the question. You don't have to answer me. I want you to think about it. So Ganeshji was made from the dirt, from the hand of Parvati Ma. His head was an elephant. Came from neither Parvati Mata nor Bhagavan Shankar. Whose child was he? Ganeshji was the child of Bhagavan Shankar and Parvati Ma. I want you to think about that. Think about that. And some of the negative things we have in our minds, where the scriptures tell us clearly this. And if you think, I wonder where is he coming from? Let me give you a hint. How about adoption as one thing first, and lead to other things? Whoever nurtures a child also is the mother of the child. That's how we should understand that. And this is something that the Hindu community is a bit reluctant to look at, to get involved in. But this is something we must do. We must get involved in. It is very important that we so do. So devotees, these are some points we can draw. Before we go on to the third incident, let us sing a simple bhajan praising Sri Ganeshji. Jaya Ganesh Gana Jaya Ganesh Gana Dayani Sakala Vidhana Kara Sakala Vidhana Kara Gurya Ganesh Swami ki jai. Now, devotees, we now come to the third part of the Katha, the third incident, where Ganesh ji, together with his elder brother, Kartikeya Subramaniam, was asked, given a challenge to see who will go around the entire universe first, the world first, parikrama. So Ganesh ji was a lot smaller. As we know, his vahan is a sort of chuha, a rat. So, I mean, how fast can a rat run? Even when you're trying to kill him, he don't run that fast. So, Kartikeya clearly did it faster. But when he came back, he saw Ganesh ji there already. And he asked, well, how come is he here? Ganesh ji said, well, I went around my mother and father, and they're the world to me. So Kartikeya got a bit upset. I am going around the entire world, you go around, you know, our parents, and you're saying you went around the world first? How is that so? So Kartikeya explained, well, look, to me, my world is my mother and father. So therefore I went around my world. You know, Ganesh ji said that to Kartikeya. Kartikeya went around the world itself. So he felt it was unfair. So I asked you, is it unfair? Do you think Ganesh ji was, as we say in Trinidad, pulling a fast one on him? Well, let me illustrate this point, devotees, in a way outside of religion. So I thought I would do this first and then see if I could convince you why they are right. So if you see this here, what does it say? A plus B. This is not so. A plus B. If you see this, what do you see? A multiplied by B. Isn't that so? Are you correct or incorrect? You're correct. But if a computer engineer looks at this, he says,
A or B. In computer engineering, the plus sign means or. Right, Navin? The dot means and. So this is A and B. So the primary school students say A and B, and A multiplied by B. The electrical engineer says A or B, A multiplied by B. Who is right? Who is wrong? Devotees. Or if you look at this now, a mathematician comes and says, oh, this is the cross product. That product, sorry, of one vector by the next vector. And people say, what? Two mosquitoes crossing each other? You know, we say when vector control and turn out is mosquito control, or vector is not really a mosquito. A vector is a mathematical term being, force in 3 dimensions. So this is called a dot product in dynamics and mathematics. Who is right? The mathematician, the electrical engineer, or the primary school student? Are they not all right? They all are right. Because they have different frames of reference. None is wrong. None is wrong. Yeah, they all 3 are right. So Ganesh ji was not pulling a fast one. What he knew, his knowledge that he had, his mother and father, was his world. So he's correct. Kartika had more knowledge, so his world was different, as I say, as the 3 different people. And that's why I thought that we use this symbol to explain, because when we say it, simply people say, hey, this is one of these things. It reminds me of Itihas, the Shankaracharya to say, once when I told one of my colleagues at the university, he said, that is Bush Gyan. And I'll tell you what he said was Bush Gyan. Now, you recall the incident where the hunter was chasing a wild boar. He shot him, pierced him with the arrow, but the boar still took off, bleeding, running. The boar went into the ashram of a sage, man who believes in non-violence, all life sacred, and told the sage, the boar, and I hope I'm not boring you, so I better say wild pig, all right? Said to him, look, you are sage, you ought to protect life. I am hurt, I'm going to hide in the ashram. A hunter is chasing me, please do not tell him that I'm here. So, the wild boar went and hid in the ashram. The hunter came off, panting and puffing it afterwards his bow, and I look at the sage. He says, sage, you are a man of the truth, you're a man of God, you cannot lie. I'm seeing the blood here. The boar ran in here. Where is the boar? Devotees, if you were the sage, what would you do? So the good thing, the sage is mentally agile. Because when we have God within us, solutions come quickly. As how Parvati Mata created solution, etc. Devotees of God must be, agile, creative, innovative. So the sage looked at the hunter, says, look, hunter, my eyes saw, but my eyes cannot talk. My tongue can talk, but my tongue did not see. I am in a quandary. What should I say to you? Now, devotees, some people would tell you that is Bush Gyan. Let me take this thing simply. If you haven't done it, go and try it. Or take a stick, put it in a clear bowl of water, and look at it from the side. Or on top, what do you see? The stick bending, isn't that so? But the stick is straight. When you go Kora to bathe, or you should go Blue Basin to bathe and watch down the river, it's looking shallower than it is actually. That's why so many people have difficulties. The water looks, because the light bends in the water, different refractor. So we are seeing in this case the stick bending, but it didn't bend. So are we mad? No. The eyes see, but it transmits to the brain. And the brain interprets. And then the brain tells the tongue, Now, the sage was not a neuroscientist, so he couldn't use all this technical language, but he knew what he was saying, that whatever we say is what we interpret. It's not what we really see, you know. I'm sure sometimes you have heard this statement. You say, well, I don't know what that girl seeing, that fella is so ugly. But they say beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. It's the same person. One person find them pretty, one person find them repugnant. It's not so. The same person. You see them the same one, but because of your idea, and maybe to make that point very clear again. I was listening to BBC recently. Well, I'm driving to San Fernando, so it's a long journey, so I listen to BBC. You get tired of hearing the same Indian songs on these radio stations. Eh? So they're saying in Iran, a lot of Iranians going to Turkey to have operation in the nose to make the nose straight. Now, you know how some people have a hawk nose? Now, that was a symbol of beauty in that part of the world. But now, with Western culture, straight nose is the concept of beauty. So it changes. So what I'm saying, you're seeing the same thing, but at one time, what changes? The same person's there, but our perception, our interpretation of what beauty is. So we don't really see anything literally. We interpret what we see. And this is why, in terms of, if you look at it, crime and evidence in court, they no longer accept visual things because people, they get confused. I'm sure when you stand up on this road here, on a hot day and you watch along Solution over that side, and you see water on the road. You ever see that? A mirage. And when you stand up, you see the sky meeting the earth, the horizon. Like when you put a bowl over something flat and meeting there, it does not. That's again an optical illusion. So we have to interpret. So the sage was correct in that regard. Hey, that I cannot be sure of what I saw, and therefore I don't want to cause harm. But he was guided by a larger principle, that the truth has to do with not causing harm. The truth has to do with not causing harm. And when you think about that, truth has to do with not causing harm and pain to other people. So we have to be aware of this. So devotees, so Sri Ganesh ji, come back to the Katha, he was correct. He saw this thing in this way, and he wanted in his mind, that was his reality, that the world is his parents. And devotees, let's just draw a quick example. Recall people said the earth was flat, isn't that so? If you go to the edge, you fall on. I know where you fall and go. Then we say it was round. Then people said, we are so important. The sun spins around the earth because we are important. The earth. But then we realized, well, the earth spins around the sun. And then we realized how many planets there are, etc. The universe is extremely large. So as we go on, we learn and learn. And devotees, you may say, how was that? The scriptures say very clearly, Vedas at the end, naiti, naiti, naiti. There's always more to learn. There's always more to learn. And this again is something we're saying, that we have to learn to do more, to think of things, move on from there. So devotees, this is the Hindu, sort of, Aapka swagat hai Panditji. You need to learn more and more and more as we're going on. And that, what it says then, that we can't be stuck in the same place. As we know more, we learn more, we do things differently. So these three sort of incidents in the sort of history of Sri Ganesh ji, his leelas, the essential point that comes out of everyone is, hey, we have to think, we have to be creative. We cannot be held back by old, like I say, what we turn to use status quo only. We have to move ahead. And I ask you this question, if you imagine Usain Bolt, he wants to run fast, he runs very fast. Imagine a big sort of tire behind him and he runs with the tire dragging. How fast he can run? So when we have baggage, all sort of things, baggage of, whatever people think and all sort of things, then we can't move forward. We have been held back by baggage and old thinking. So superstition is baggage. That's why I gave the first example of that. So devotees, so this Ganesh Utsav is about moving forward, not about having baggage. Right? To be creative. If we want to create, we want to innovate, to solve problems, and we can only solve problems if we create and innovate. And Ganeshji's mother was very innovative, as his father also. So the child must come out innovative too. That's why he's a remover of all obstacles. He can solve all problems. Follow Sri Ganeshji, that is going to happen. So devotees, before I summarize the katha, let us sing a simple kirtan again to Bhagwan Shankar and the Parivar Kartikai also. Subramanyam, Subramanyam, Shambhunata, Subramanyam. Subramanyam, Subramanyam, Shambhunata, Subramanyam. Subramanyam, Subramanyam, Sannukhanata, Subramanyam. Subramanyam, Subramanyam, Sannukhanata, Subramanyam. Subramanyam, Subramanyam, Shambhunata, Subramanyam. Subramanyam, Subramanyam, Shambhunata, Subramanyam. Shiv, 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 Shiva, Subramanyam, Har, 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 Subramanyam. Shiv, 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 Shiva, Subramanyam, Har, 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 Subramanyam. Subramanyam, Subramanyam, Shambhunata, Subramanyam. Subramanyam, Subramanyam, Shambhunata, Subramanyam. Subramanyam, Subramanyam, Shambhunata, Subramanyam. Har, 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 Subramanyam, Shiv, 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 Shiva, Subramanyam. Shiv, 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 Shiva, Subramanyam, Har, 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 Subramanyam. Subramanyam, Subramanyam, Shambhunata, Subramanyam. Subramanyam, Subramanyam, Shambhunata, Subramanyam. Shambhunata, Subramanyam. Sannukhanata, Subramanyam. Sannukhanata, Subramanyam. Sumapati Mahadev ki jai. So devotees summarize, put it all together, that we create the Murti of Sri Ganeshji, we worship the Murti for a period of time, and then we have the Visarjan, or the immersion of the Murti, where the Murti is dissolved. So Visarjan means immersion. It's a Hindi word, Visarjan Karna. Visarjan Karna means to immerse. Visarjan Hona means to rise. Visarjan Kendra means an outlet. So before we can immerse in Murti, we must rise first, it's not so, come together. And to immerse it, we must have a Kendra, an outlet. The ceremony in the sea is the Kendra. So devotees, this is what we do. Now isn't that what life is about? We make things, or we are born, we are cherished, then we die. That's how it is. Devotees, and therefore it teaches a larger lesson about attachment, that nothing in this world is permanent. We tell people, politicians, that the job you have is for a short time. The manager, you'll be manager forever. Nobody's anything forever. Everything comes to an end. We must understand that this universe is transient. And you know, there's a practice in Buddhism that illustrates this thing wonderfully. Everybody know what a rangoli is, right? You have simple rangoli, you have some very complex rangolis. And in order to teach Buddhist monks detachment, that be attached to the worldly things, they spend sometimes a month building a most complex, beautiful rangoli. And when we build something beautiful, we like to take pride in it, and we want to look at it and tell people, oh, that's ours, and these sort of things, right? We become attached to it. And as they're finished, they break it up. To show that nothing is permanent, transient. Life is that way, in all aspects of life. Now, that doesn't mean we should have no ambition or do nothing, you know. But we're saying that we have to understand that the Ganesh Utsav, the larger message is, hey, it's created, we worship it, we cherish it, then we immerse it. That's how life is. We come, we live the life, do good things, and we go on. We hold a position in a company or in the government or wherever, do good things. Because it's going to go also. That's how it is. And when it goes, do we not do the immersion with love and devotion, and it's very nice, done in a proper way? So too, like when you leave the job, people have appreciation function for you, is not so? How would you feel, you know, you work in a place for 25 years and time to go, say, oh yeah, there you go. No function, how would you feel? Unappreciated, is not so? So if you do the right things, you know it's going to come, but also you'll be treated in that way. The visurgence of the life of the curry will be better that way. So devotees, these are the simple messages for tonight. I hope that you think about it. The reflection, smaran is important for us. We think about them, put it in place, and then we practice it to make our lives better. May Ganesh Bhagwan bless you, protect you. May all obstacles from your life be removed. May you have success. But Ganesh Ji is a giver of happiness. Bolo Sri Gajananda Swami ki jai. We'll now have the Havan. Let's join together in Havan.
Devotees, we join in chant and Swaha as offerings are being made. Ready? Om Gam Ganapatye Namah Swaha. Om Shri Saraswatye Namah Swaha. Om Namaschandikaye Namah Swaha. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Namah Swaha. Om Namo Narayanaya Namah Swaha. Om Shri Sita Ramachandraya Namah Swaha. Om Shri Mahalakshmi Mataya Namah Swaha. Om Shri Gauri Mataya Namah Swaha. Om Shri Prithvi Mataya Namah Swaha. Om Shri Tulsi Matabhyo Namah Swaha. Om Shri Kalish Devtabhyo Namah Swaha. Om Shri Panchlokpal Devaya Namah Swaha. Om Shri Chausat Yogini Matabhyo Namah Swaha. Om Shri Shitala Devtabhyo Namah Swaha. Om Shri Naugraha Devtabhyo Namah Swaha. Om Shri Ravi Devtabhyo Namah Swaha. Om Shri Chandrama Devaya Namah Swaha. Om Shri Mangal Devaya Namah Swaha. Om Shri Buddha Devaya Namah Swaha. Om Shri Guru Devaya Namah Swaha. Om Shri Shukra Devaya Namah Swaha. Om Shri Shani Devaya Namah Swaha. Om Rahavai Namah Swaha. Om Ketavai Namah Swaha. Om Shri Sarvadevi Sarvadetabhyo Namah Swaha. Om Shri 33 crore Devatabhyo Namah Swaha. Offer all that you have inside here. Ask you to kindly stand as we make final offering. When you have Swaha, you offer all inside, right? ओम नमः शंभवाय च मयोभवाय च नमः शंकराय च महेश्वराय च शिवाय च शिवतराय च ओम नमः शिवाय। ओम पूर्णमिदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ओम सर्वं वै पूर्णगं स्वाहा। ओम सर्व पाप
जय गणेश जय गणेश जय गणेश देवा माता जाकी पार्वती पिता महादेवा। जय गणेश जय गणेश जय गणेश देवा माता जाकी पार्वती पिता महादेवा। माता जाकी पार्वती पिता महादेवा का भोग लगे संजय कर सेवा। हे माता जाकी पार्वती पिता महादेवा भगवान का भोग लगे संजय कर सेवा। जाकी पार्वती पिता महादेवा। एक दंत दयावंत चरिभुजाधारी माथे सिंदूर सोहे मुसकी सवारी। देवा माता जाकी पार्वती पिता महादेवा। अंधन को आँख देता कुड़ियन को काया बांझन को पुत्र देता निर्धन को माया। को आँख देता कुड़ियन को काया बांझन को पुत्र देता निर्धन को माया। जय गणेश जय गणेश जय गणेश देवा माता जाकी पार्वती पिता महादेवा। पान छले फूल छरे और छरे मेवा लडुअन का भोग लगे सत्य कर सेवा। पान छले फूल छरे और छरे मेवा jagi paat ke pita maradeva.
Tonight, just a few, 2 or 3 words on Professor Prakash. As you know, Swaha is celebrating 25 years this year, 25th anniversary. When Pandit Balaram ji came, I shared with you something about him and his contribution towards the development of Swaha by giving the name Swaha. Now, in terms of the actual decision, Swaha is a body incorporated by Act of Parliament, as you know, we all should know, Act number 7 of 1993. And one of Pandit Professor Prakash Prasad's major role at that point was in actually drafting the Act of Incorporation. And not many people know these things. We are sharing it for posterity because, you know, history has a way of changing with time based on the perception of the perceiver, to put it simple. So that Professor Prakash ji, always the intellectual type, was the person who was charged with the responsibility of creating our Act for Incorporation, which he did very well, and something we all should do well to remember. Swaha, in addition to being incorporated by Act of Parliament, we have charitable status. And again, in order to get charitable status, requires certain provisions within our constitution, within our act. So Swaha as a body doesn't belong to anyone. It is a body independent, incorporated by Act of Parliament, and continues into perpetuity. We all are part of this process. Tonight, as we complete this night's devotion, Ganesh Yag, we mention and remember this contribution, amongst others, of Professor Pandit Prakash ji. As you know, he is the spiritual leader of Swaha Divya Ashram. Pandit ji, once again, on behalf of Sri Ram Dham, the Ganesh Festival Committee, we thank you very much for joining in and sharing the katha that you did tonight.
Let us engage in closing prayer. Om Hari Om Tat Sat. Om Hari Om Tat Sat. Om Hari Om Tat Sat. Shiva Hari Shiva Rama Sakhi Prabhu Trividata Panivaran Prabhu Ajay Janeshwar Yadav Pahi Mam Shiva Hari Vijayam Gurumevaram Pratidinam Kushalam Jai Mangalam Om Mangalam Bhagwan Vishnu Mangalam Garvadhaja Mangalam Pundarikaksha Mangalaye Tano Harim Tvameva Mata Sapita Tvameva Bandhucha Sakha Tvameva Vidya Dravinam Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Kusumaapati Mahadev ki jai, Kushashakti Durga Mata ki jai, Kushashakti Swaha Mata ki jai, Kushi Sat Sanatan Dharma ki jai. Shubhamastu, Kalyanamastu, Ashirvad, blessings to you. Bait Jai, please take your seats.